You play it!
We know it!
Hello and welcome to ESR's Next Level Play podcast.
Your best source for all things gaming.
From esports
To tournaments.
to game drops.
To crossovers into new worlds. We will be covering the past, present, and future of gaming as we know it.
Yeah, we're gonna analyze what we see in the industry.
We're gonna make predictions for the future.
And we're gonna bring on a plethora of top-tier guests. We're just gonna blow your mind with the piping hot insider knowledge they bring to the table.
The future of esports and gaming is
Right here, right now.
Next Level Play.
Sydney, how you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. I have my coffee.
Okay, nice.
I see you have your coffee.
I do have my coffee.
I'm awake. I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm excited because there's a lot of new games coming out, and one of the new ones is sort of nostalgic for me. Have you heard of a little game called Tekken?
Oh, that's a small game.
That's a little game, just a little one. So little.
To rack my brain.
They're on the 8th
Yes,
one?
the 8th was just released. I asked how you're feeling because I was feeling a little violent, honestly.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't want to go to jail.
Should I call someone?
No, I got some stuff going on later. Like I don't want to. My lawyers. Don't want to deal with that.
I've got so many lawyers and so many doctors.
You gotta do what you gotta do. But my outlet has always been fighting games.
Yeah.
You know,
I
a
get
little
it.
button mashy, and then I feel a lot better.
Mhm.
And Tekken is also very, very near to me. My first fighting game was Tekken 3.
Oh, okay.
You know, born in 1994. So had an older brother. Of course, he had
Dox
Tekken
yourself.
3.
Dox
Yes.
yourself.
Oh yeah. I'll tell you my address.
Wait, so your older brother had the game and let you play?
He was so generous with the game that my
so that
parents
he
got
could
him.
absolutely kick your
Oh,
ass.
of course.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I was terrible. I mean, I would have been 5 years old. I think it came out in '98, if I'm not mistaken. Tekken 3.
Okay.
Which definitely Tekken was already somewhat of a
Big.
successful,
Yeah.
series with Tekken 1, especially with Tekken 2.
Yeah.
But Tekken 3, just blew up Tekken to a heights. In my opinion, kind of took the torch from Street Fighter, which I feel had kind of that
hold
number
on
one
everybody.
hold, with Mortal Kombat obviously sprinkled in there as well as
Yeah.
his biggest competitor. But Street Fighter 2 especially, with so many iterations, and then Street Fighter 3 as well had a little bit of a success. Street Fighter Alpha series, of course, still very much dominating the mid-90s arcade scene. But then Tekken 3 came out.
Yeah.
And it was something different. It was kind of what Virtua Fighter, I feel like, always wanted to be. Anyway, so
Did you have a main?
I did. Tekken 3, I was a king main.
Oh, of course.
Because when you're 5 years old.
You want to be the tiger.
Yeah, I didn't even like pro wrestling at the time.
Okay, now you do.
I love pro wrestling.
Okay.
But I got into pro wrestling when I was 27. So I didn't understand any of the lore of King. I didn't understand.
What is the lore? Is that he's based off of a real wrestler?
No, it's just that he's like a luchador.
Okay.
Who's very charitable.
Wait. He's not a real tiger?
No, I thought that when I was a kid.
It's a costume?
Yeah, he's a Mexican luchador.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
This is new lore to Sydney.
Yeah, that's why his face is just like, is this a mask? And he takes off the mask sometimes in cutscenes. I don't think you ever see his face.
I feel like my childhood is, because my game, which is interesting that you were a Tekken 3, like that was your first fighting game, because I'm pretty sure my first fighting game was Tekken Tag on PlayStation, which I played with my siblings, because you can't beat each other up, you're going to get in trouble. Yeah, we would play Tekken, and I feel like, who did I love? Well, obviously all of the hot women. I loved King too. He was fun, but I didn't identify with him.
Yeah.
I think my favorite player was Nina Williams.
Oh, yes. The femme fatale.
Yeah, and she was also like Russian ? She was something French? I'm not sure.
That's a great question.
Don't quote me. I feel like she was like a Russian spy.
Yeah, she was a spy for sure.
When I was a kid, I for some reason thought she was a Russian spy. I don't know why.
She worked for the Hihachi's company.
I'm so curious if they ever say, or if it's kind of just like, who knows, she's an international spy.
Yeah, I think she was more of a, like, sometimes she was working for.
She was just badass.
The bad
I think
guys.
the coolest move is her like leg grapple, her like neck takedown. So cool, so hot. But anyway, I wonder why you and I sort of were drawn to Tekken when there are so many other fighting games out there. Like, I never really played Street Fighter unless I was in like a barcade.
Right.
And even when I went to Japan, and one of my most fond memories was going to this arcade in Japan. Japan has a ton of arcades. A lot of them are like outdoor, indoor. You can kind of just walk in off the street and go play pachinko or like go play Dance Dance Revolution. It's really dope. And I like went in, my older sister was with me, and I was like, fuck yeah, they've got Tekken. And I just sat there like button mashing at Tekken for 30 minutes while my sister waited for me to finish, like very politely. And she took a hilarious photo of me mid yelling at like the monitor, like playing Tekken in Japan. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still drawn to Tekken, and I wonder why.
Was it a Tekken Tag tournament that you played in Japan? Do you remember which one?
Ooh, no, it wasn't Tekken Tag tournament. It was it would have been the Tekken that was out at the time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, 2016.
Okay.
But because there was what was the newest? The newest Tekken is 8,
right? And
then the newest Mortal Kombat that came out that blew up. That was fantastic.
Mortal Kombat 1.
Was it
remake? I believe
yeah,
so.
It was the remake.
Yeah. Well, it's the way the timeline works in Mortal Kombat, more of a reset. Anyway,
nerd.
You know this as well as I do.
But yeah, I wonder why I was drawn as opposed to, because I like Mortal Kombat too.
Yeah.
And there's some fantastic characters.
Yeah.
But I wonder why I was drawn to Tekken.
I think it's two things, just off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm using. I do think one of it is kind of what I was talking about earlier. We're similar age, not to dox you, but I think the late 90s, early 2000s, like that 5-year sweet spot from like 98 to 2002, I feel like Tekken was the fighting game.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're the cool kid, you knew about Tekken, you're done with all the cartoony Street Fighter stuff. Like it was a little more gritty, it was a little more realistic, and just kind of had the, staying power and the branding behind it.
Yeah.
As opposed to some of these smaller franchises, because Tekken 3 did so well. Yes, there was your Soul Edges coming out and your Soul Calibers, and those gained speed.
Yeah.
But I think Tekken, because Tekken 3 was so well revered, and the top of early esports too is dominated by Tekken.
Totally.
Not completely. It's one of many games, but just one of those games that really kind of captured the zeitgeist of the time, of like the 90s Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And again, it tried to do something different. Fighting games have always, for the most part, especially set by Street Fighter, you have the strong punch, the medium punch, the light punch.
Yeah.
And Tekken was like, we're going to try something totally different.
The low kick. Yeah. The medium kick. The high kick.
And we're going to have, exactly.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat, I think. And then the thing with Tekken is each button, you got the 4 buttons, and each one is a limb.
Yeah.
Which is so different.
Yeah.
And I think fun too. And it makes sense as well. Even as a kid, like
just
I understood.
More interactive.
It does.
Yeah. And the combo moves.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's to me, that's what really separates these different games is like, how do you innovate a fighting game?
Yeah.
Combos. Like, how do you create unique characters with unique combos? I think, sorry, I know you're looking at Nina's profile.
She's Irish, by the way.
Whoa.
I had no idea.
Way
That's
off.
Shocking. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess Nina is
maybe I just didn't
Irish
know what a Russian accent was when I was young. She also, I don't think she spoke. She never spoke in Tekken Tag. She didn't have any like catchphrases.
Yeah.
But speaking of catchphrases and characters that stand out, I also remember so vividly playing Soul Calibur. I don't remember which one, maybe 2. But like all those characters for their little opening cutscenes, they would like walk onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
And they would all say the most bonkers, bizarro shit. And one of my favorite characters, she would just walk on and go with her sword, and she would go, "Wind, guide me."
Yes.
And then the fight would start. But it sticks with you, you know?
That?
It was
I think it's Soul Calibur 2, because I remember that.
I think it is 2.
Might have been Sophitia. It might have been
I think Sophitia had the fans, right?
No. That might have been a different game.
I'm thinking of there's also, who's in Soul Calibur? Ivy was with her chain whip sword.
Oh, believe me, I remember Ivy from my childhood.
I think we all remember Ivy.
Oh boy.
I still think about Ivy.
Oh boy.
Ivy.
And you could do the alternate costume where she's like in colonial gear and like super dressed up.
Completely covered up.
They knew what they were doing.
But I think that was like attached to what I was saying with the character design and memorable characters and memorable combos. Like Ivy will forever be obviously her outfits, but also like chain whip sword. What a cool weapon with so many cool maneuvers. So I think that's what separates it for me. And within the esports world too, because everybody has a main. Everybody, wants to play as like one character and kind of hone that character. And I think that's why Tekken does so well too, because their character design is fantastic. King alone is like such a great character.
Absolutely. And Soul Calibur 2 was, if I'm not mistaken, they're both Namco. So
yeah, I believe so.
yeah. So you know, they both. Let me just confirm that before I look like.
Search it.
Yeah, Bandai Namco.
Nailed it.
And so you know, they kind of took the Tekken. They're like, how can we make this more exciting?
Right, but they didn't reskin it, and
No,
it
it's
has
its
a
own
different
thing.
feel.
100%.
The music, the locations.
Yeah, I love Soul Calibur. I grew more because I played Soul Calibur 2. That was kind of my teenage game after Tekken because I was a GameCube boy, and they didn't have Tekken games on the GameCube, so no PS2 for me.
They had Soul Calibur on the GameCube?
Yes, they did. And in fact, our boy Link was a playable character in Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube.
But not on the PlayStation.
No. Yes.
I had it on the PlayStation.
Which Heihachi was the from Tekken. No. Yes, that was Tekken 2.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize there was a Wait, that crossover is crazy though.
Mm-hmm. It was a huge deal at the time.
That's almost like an early Smash.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that was the could we call it the first Smash?
I mean, well, Smash came out in 2000 for N64, 99, 2000. So unfortunately not.
Well,
but
never mind.
We're close.
Well,
and then Xbox, they got
up.
Spawn, who's not even like an Xbox Microsoft character.
Spawn? Who's Spawn?
Like superhero Spawn.
Oh.
Todd McFarlane.
Oh, weird. What a weird choice.
It was a strange choice.
They were like, you just need something. Everybody else gets something.
Like Xbox was just starting out, and they're like, can we do Master Chief? And they're like, probably not.
They're like, oh, you want a gun?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think you can have a gun. You can't bring a gun to a fist fight.
Right.
That's really funny. I didn't realize they gave them a shitty character.
Well, and because we don't want to call Spawn a shitty character, but you can if you want.
I'll do
Spawn's
it.
Spawn's pretty cool.
For a fighting game?
For a fighting game, it's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But regardless, the GameCube version was considered the superior because of our boy Link here.
Who said that?
I think everyone.
Everyone did?
Yeah, look it up. Google what's the best Soul Calibur 2.
You Google.
And it'll say, well, GameCube one has Link.
It says Marcus says
GameCube one has Link.
GameCube one has Link ?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I would definitely play Tekken 8. I feel like I don't know. I would have to play with other people. I don't think I would do story mode. It doesn't scratch that itch for me anymore.
The story is heavy.
Yeah. Wait, in a good way?
Yeah. I mean, I think Tekken has a great story, honestly.
You mean like in a sad way?
No, just as in like it's a lot if you're jumping into 8.
Oh, I see.
Even I'm like, I loosely follow the story. I know a little bit with the lore. Like each game adds a whole another layer, another generation. Like, oh, cool, Jinpachi now exists. So Heihachi's not the oldest.
I see.
He's got a dad.
Okay, so I would watch the cutscenes and be like, I don't know who that is, and I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
Well, I would play. Would you play it at this?
Oh, totally.
At this point?
Yeah, 100%. I played a bit of 7. I played 6 as well.
Okay.
A few of those are on PlayStation Plus, so I've been able to.
Nice.
They were hyping it up, so especially 6. 6 was one I had never played, so I was able to play through 6, which was a lot of fun. Here's my thing about fighting games, personally. Me personally, I suck at them really bad. I brag about how I play on hard mode all the time for like certain games, like platformers, gotcha, first-person shooters, bread and butter. Fighting games, even though I played them since I was 4 years old. Always trash. Can't do it. Like I learned the combos. I can't execute them. My timing's always off. I never can block on like my best.
I can't block for shit.
Yeah, my best chance is to button mash.
Yep.
It really is, because whenever I try to like actually try, I can't. Dragon Ball Fighter Z fighters. I never know how to say that. Terrible. I'm bad at every fighting game. What about you?
I'm not good. I'll admit it. I also button mash, but I'm also such a bad like perpetrator of the repeat move.
Oh, sure.
Like I'll just like combo, like do the same thing, and it works, but it's frustrating for the other player because like if they're down and you just I do like a leg cartwheel kick. That's like a great move.
Great. Yeah.
That just keeps them down. And it's so annoying to play against me. Yeah. And I know that, but you have to work with what you got. And that's what I got. That's what I got, baby. That's what I bring to the table. I remember a long time ago, there was an esports competition with NYXL, who does Overwatch, but we were doing a Smash Ultimate sort of pop-up like...
Yeah, Ultimate just released. I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Yeah. And it was a few people from Leaderboard. I think Judy Jetset was there, and like we were doing interviews and sort of commentating on Smash, and like it was a really fun time. Yeah. We all had just t-shirts on. Do you remember?
It was like 3 sizes too big.
We had like gaming t-shirts on. But I got to play alongside some really good players. I think Yodoye was there too. And boy, howdy, did I get my ass handed to me in such an embarrassing way. Like, I'm not great at Smash, and I know that. I know my fighting game style, and it's not Smash. It's really like Tekken, Soul Calibur style. I don't even have a main. I think I was doing Ness, but terrible idea anyway. I don't think I've played Smash confidently since.
Oh boy. It was humbling.
It was not even humbling. It just ruined me.
I made it to the semis in that tournament, and Darian was still disappointed in me because he was like, "You said you were good at Smash. I thought you were gonna." Because we brought in a bunch of YouTubers from like all over the country.
Oh yeah.
And they wanted me to be like the leaderboard guy to like beat everyone. And I was like, "I'll do." They play Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Like for a living, basically. They weren't pros or esports
They were
players,
very good,
but
though.
they were very, very good.
Yeah.
Well, that brings up an interesting question because I'm terrible at fighting games. I'm decent at Smash. I wouldn't give myself more than like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Do you consider Smash Brothers a fighting game?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this was for debate. And okay. I will give you 3 reasons why I do. Why did I say that? Number 1. It's a fighting game. Okay, hold on.
You do fight.
Number 1,
That's true.
You fight.
Yes.
You don't really have any other options but to fight. There's no hug or kiss option.
Well, there's certain moves where you like grab.
That's not
Bowser.
a hug.
That's a hug. Kirby.
Okay, there's no kiss option. So this is not a dating sim. That's my argument. Number 1. Number 2, there's battle music. For each location that you choose, I think the music dictates the gameplay.
Sure.
You know when you go into a boss area, there's that music switch over. That's battle music when you go in there. It's not like peaceful crickets and violence. And number 3, my final reason, many of the characters have weapons. Big swords, fishing rods.
For sure. I feel like those 3 could also describe like an RPG. You know, I know the fighting you're talking like
okay,
actually.
But here's my other argument. This is not
certain moves.
This is not an RPG. It's not
a
first-person shooter. It's not
Subspace Emissary kind of RPG.
It's not like. Well, what is your argument that it's not a fighting game though?
It's so unique compared to fighting games, and fighting games don't have to be staunchly like 2 characters with a health bar coming at each other with the block and the high punch and all that. But Smash Brothers is such like a different gameplay loop and style. It's so much more aerial. It's so much more, I guess, dodging. There's a lot more mobility to it. And your ultimate goal, if Smash Brothers was a, stamina mode. We all know stamina mode in Smash Brothers. If that was the main mode of Smash Brothers, I think it would be a much stronger argument that Smash Brothers is a fighting game. But the whole mechanic of like getting the percentage up and launching them, smashing them way off is a very different mechanic. Totally changes the game. And there's also clearly like Smash ripoffs. I think brawlers is what they're often called. You have the Nickelodeon All-Stars. You have the Cartoon Network one. You have the PlayStation All-Stars. Are they both called All-Stars, Nickelodeon and PlayStation?
Are they?
They might be. I gotta look that up.
You can look it up.
Regardless, it feels like its own genre.
I hear you. I really do. I think you're right in that it's certainly, I don't know, there's a Venn diagram happening, like it's somewhere in the middle, but I wouldn't discount it completely by saying like it's not a fighter game.
Yeah.
I think even, sure, stamina mode aside, I think even like getting a bunch of hits in and getting them weak enough to throw them is a really cool mechanic that they made into their game, but that's a fighter mechanic. Like,
I think it's a Venn diagram.
It's like a KO mechanic.
You're right. And I think I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit. I think you could definitely say that Smash Brothers is a fighting game. It's just, I feel like they're both fighting games, just different style of fighting games.
Sure.
And the classic Street Fighter Tekken version is what's known as fighting game. You know what I mean? Even though it's like a rectangle square kind of argument, I feel.
Have you ever, this is quite possibly the most like visceral childhood fighting game that I used to rent from Blockbuster.
Oh boy.
You heard
Taking it back.
Celebrity Deathmatch?
Oh yes, of course.
Oh my.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I highly recommend Googling and just finding some gameplay on YouTube. It is claymation style fighting with known celebrity. I don't know how they were able to do this. At the 90s were the early 2000s were a different time legally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember you could play as like these like Paris Hilton, and like you would pick up a chair. It was wrestling, and you would like pick up a chair and like hit another celebrity in the face, and there would be like claymation blood that would like spurt out.
Yeah, how did they get away with that?
I have no idea, but I was obsessed with it. I used to re-rent it. I'd be like, Mom, we got to go back to Blockbuster. I have to re-rent this game.
I never played the game, and I think I've heard it's notoriously bad.
It's bad.
Yeah. But I watched the show religiously.
The show is hilarious as well.
On MTV. And I think MTV, I don't know if that falls into parody law because it's celebrities literally getting their faces smashed in and like mutilated horribly.
Someone says parody law, like I think of obviously Weird Al, and I don't know how parody law works.
It's pretty carte blanche, which is great about it.
I'm just like, it can't possibly be that simple.
If it's clear enough that you're making a joke, you can pretty much get away with anything. But showing people getting like ripped apart by their celebrities that they may have real life beefs with, I don't know. You're right. Yeah, early 2000s MTV was a different time.
I'm just looking it up. So it was available for PlayStation 2, Xbox, and PC. They really had it everywhere. Man,
it sold, I'm sure too, because a lot of people remember that game. I feel.
Yeah, this in the game, the player needs to hit their opponent several times until the opponent's life meter flashes red. At which point, the text will show the word kill. Very simple mechanics. Yeah. The game is not good. Would you say fighting game is the umbrella, and then there's like wrestling game, brawlers, side scroller?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my argument is like the classic.
So you just said that he agreed with me is what I'm trying to say. He agreed with me.
I mean, yes. I'm both agreeing and disagreeing. Because my argument is, yes, they're all encompassing technically fighting games. But one of those bubbles is also fighting games, because it's what people think of when they think fighting games. They jump to Tekken, they jump to...
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's thinking like, oh, what's your favorite fighting game? And they're like, oh, WWE 2K18.
Yeah.
Or even Smash Brothers. They might say Smash Brothers, I think.
That's what I'm saying.
They might, and that's totally valid.
Moving on, though, we talked about Spawn a little bit, and superheroes, and gaming. So I want to talk a little about superhero films. Godzilla. Is this like a superhero, supervillain, or just fantasy?
I would describe Godzilla movies specifically, especially like movies that are really rooted in the original Godzilla. I'd call them disaster movies more than anything. I think that's the most fitting. And I mean, it's an allegory for nuclear war and you know, city destroying kind of stuff. So, but you could put disaster movies into action movies or horror. I think it's a nice kind of combo of the two. So I think action, horror.
Yeah, I like that. I like disaster movies. I've never thought about it that way before, but that's pretty accurate.
But like when Jet Jaguar shows up in Godzilla movies, like then it becomes a superhero movie.
Then it's a superhero movie, yeah.
And when Godzilla is fighting, you know, and I'm talking again original Godzilla where he's menacing Japan, you know, they very quickly introduced your Rodans, your Mothras, King Ghidorahs, like, and then it does kind of become a superhero movie.
Yeah.
Because you got the supervillain, you're rooting for Godzilla. You know, there's a big kind of fight at the end of climax. Yeah.
And especially I feel like with the American remakes for Godzilla, which I don't love, but
the Matthew Broderick one.
Bad. But then it becomes, I feel like we always turn as Americans, we always turn it into like science experiment. Like we somehow take this turn where it kind of becomes superhero because they're like, if we could only harness this power, then like we could do this, and we have to make two monsters fight each other. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't love those movies, but the newest Godzilla that came out, Godzilla -1, if you're wondering what the -1 is, it's a prequel. So it's like before the Godzilla, this is an older movie technically. It's fantastic.
Okay.
And I think I'm making this prediction. I think we're going to see this rise in recognition by the Academy Awards, Golden Globes, these higher sort of echelon award shows. I think we're going to see recognition for horror, for superhero, fantasy, game remake like shows and movies. But for instance, the Godzilla -1 has its Oscar nomination, and it's the first Godzilla movie to achieve that. And
congrats, shout out Godzilla.
Shout out too, because it was made in Japan. It's entirely in Japanese, and I think that is how a Godzilla movie should be.
Right.
The Godzilla's in Japan, so I loved it. I highly recommend seeing it. I would love to know people's opinions on it.
And I think superhero movies, especially because horror, everyone always says, "Oh, horror's always been panned." Blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, Exorcist was lauded and got a bunch of nominations. Silence of the Lambs won the 5 major Oscars, which has only been done 3 times. Like horror movies have had recognition when they're excellent. They have.
Okay.
It's a little harder. I'm being over this cold. But superhero movies, you're right. Like I feel like that especially. The Dark Knight was a special exception.
Totally.
Especially with Heath Ledger's passing.
And a very different time for superhero movies too. The sort of original, like, gritty, dark, they don't really make them like they used to. Which is interesting that we've turned away from that. But I wonder too, and man, Heath Ledger is so fantastic, but I wonder too if it was from that they pivoted and decided to change the way they were doing it, because they weren't getting like those nominations. They weren't getting maybe like the reception that they wanted from the fan bases. So I wonder if that's also what made them change. But now they are getting the recognition.
They are. And I think...
Like Black Panther 2.
Exactly.
Got an acting Oscar nomination.
Shout out Angela Bassett.
And it was the first superhero film to get an
acting nomination,
which outside of insane.
The role of the Joker, which has now won 2.
Outside of Dark Knight and the Joker. Predictions for Joker 2?
It's probably going to be like Taxi Driver again. Yeah, that's my prediction.
Do you think he's going to win?
No, I don't think they're giving a 3rd Oscar for the role of the Joker just yet. Not within 15 years. Mildly.
Depends on who else is up against him. What the
if
other
he earns
are.
it, I'll watch the movie and be all snobby and be like, you earned it. What I think The Dark Knight did is showed that it was possible. Yeah. Well, Batman Begins as well, but I don't think Batman Begins got really any kind of real critical accolades. Yeah. But it set the scene for what it could be. And then I think there were kind of 2 directions. I think Marvel was already in the midst of building their universe. Iron Man had already come out. Yeah. That's kind of what kicked it off. But DC was like, ooh, Dark Knight, let's do that. Zack Snyder, oh, I'm so smart. Sorry, Zack Snyder. I'm being a jerk. But like Man of Steel was clearly them being like, let's do Dark Knight, but Superman. Yeah. Didn't work out.
But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they didn't do the pivot. Yeah. Marvel did. Marvel has started to put out... I like Marvel movies. I've never been a superhero movie person. Yeah. And I loved Dark Knight, don't get me wrong. But I really have enjoyed the Marvel movies, as light as they are in many ways. But with this sort of like tide changing resurgence, I also feel like big movie falls into the classic trap that they always do, where they remake things. But a spin, they remake it, but it's lighter. They remake it, but it's the dark. I feel like we hear that all the time now. Yeah. We're remaking, what was it, Archie?
My God, Riverdale, yeah.
Yeah, but we're doing it dark.
I was so confused.
It's bad. Like, it doesn't need to be done.
It's popular.
I know. But I think, like, with big movie, they see this sort of like, oh, the nerds, the nerds are back. We love the nerds. Let's cater to the nerds. And then they remake Ghostbusters. And then they remake
Ghostbusters again.
Ghostbusters again. Then they remake Mean Girls. Then they, and they just keep recycling. And personally, like, I have no interest in it. And I loved Ghostbusters, and I loved the original Mean Girls. How do you feel? Were you like a Ghostbusters stan, or like, did you not care?
Original, yes. Yeah. Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies. It's like top 3 favorite comedy of all time. It's great. I think it's a nearly perfect movie. Ghostbusters works. It's a movie about Bill Murray.
Guys being dudes.
Being dudes with his like nerdy, dorky buddies. Yeah. And also half the humor comes from Bill Murray sexually harassing Sigourney Weaver. Yes. Is what the movie is. So like
it's a time capsule piece of cinema.
Yeah. Ghostbusters was never about Slimer and proton packs, and of course there's that stuff is amazing. We love the ghost busting of Ghostbusters, but what made Ghostbusters so special to me was the cast. Granted, more so with than video games. With movies, I'm the worst. I'm a snob. I can't help it. Like, I'm very critical. With Marvel, I've kind of had burnout because sequels and remakes more egregiously. I'm just burnt out on them. Like, I'm craving originality in Hollywood so much. Well, I talked about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like, it's so original, so unique. Like, that's what I want more of. And I respect Marvel for kind of scraping the barrel a little bit on superheroes to make movies about. But that's another problem where they're just clearly kind of spreading themselves too thin, and people are a little burnt out.
Sometimes it does feel like they just flip through any edition and like point a finger to something, and they're like, we're doing a Madam Web movie now, and it's just so random. You know what I heard recently about the Madam Web? They filmed a bunch of scenes that had to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like references to and sort of like the connections. They filmed all of it. They started editing the film, and then they realized that due to the time periods of what was going on with Dakota Johnson's character, they were like, wait. No, wait. Tom Holland's Spider-Man, Peter Parker, would have been like an infant at the time, and they had to cut it all out. But it's so funny to me that Marvel, you know, like they put so much money into these movies, and then one person at Marvel saw this cut and was like, that doesn't even make
Did you read the Bible?
Did you read the Bible? Did you read the Bible we gave you?
Yeah.
But you're right. They're like pumping this stuff out, and I wonder if the fans are also getting burnt out, just being like, I'm good with the comics. Like, just stop. Everyone stop.
And of course, I don't blame them for making more movies. Making more movies. But clearly, what Marvel pulled off from 2008 to 2020, building up to a crescendo that was Infinity War.
That was
especially, but Endgame as well.
Yeah.
They nailed it. They pulled it off. It's incredible what they created. The hype behind it.
I cried.
Yeah, I mean it was a huge deal. I was 14 when Iron Man came out. Like that, it felt like a real climax. It was incredible. In a perfect world, in my opinion, they would have stopped there. But of course they can't. They got to try to do it again.
Yeah.
But will they ever reach those heights? I don't think it's possible. And obviously, people are a little burnt out on what, at the end of the day, is a bit of a formulaic movie structure that is recycled repeatedly for Marvel movies. Marvel keeps it fun, is very well done, brilliantly acted. They're funny. They're like perfectly made movies, but it's still utilizing a formula.
It's hard to hate them.
Yeah.
But I do wonder if I think they're slowing down. I think they know. I think they're slowing down a bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and have you heard of the controversy? Speaking of Marvel, have you heard of the controversy with the Suicide Squad game?
Oh yeah, I mean I heard. Let me look this up.
Yeah, so
because there's two controversies that I kind of know about.
Well, the one that I'm thinking of is basically the game was released early access, and then they
a glitch
pulled it.
Well, there's a glitch that instantly beats the game. And
is that what it was?
Yeah. So
wait, what?
It's a super easy to access glitch accidentally as well, and it will instantly beat the game.
You walk through the wrong door, and then you auto complete the game.
Yeah.
I wonder if a developer
and replayability not gonna happen with the early access.
Wow, that's bad. But they pulled it. It was literally released for like an hour, so they found it relatively quick, I would say. But I can't imagine, that sucks. I can't imagine how many people accidentally auto completed the game.
Yeah.
But this leads to, I think, the other thing we're going to talk about with it, which I guess players found out when they auto completed the game.
Potentially, yeah.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
I mean,
you might have heard about it.
You probably have heard about it if you want to look into this game.
So Kevin Conroy is the late beloved voice actor of Batman, and Suicide Squad, the video game, was one of his very final roles. Rest in peace. He's
a fantastic voice actor.
Excellent work that he's put out that will always memorialize him, fortunately. However, for this one of his final roles,
it's just,
for whatever reason, they decide to release this game with a very graphic, very bleak, very violent death of Batman
as the ending to, this is a spoiler, I'm sorry,
nice little button.
It is the ending to the game, which everyone found out by accident with this autocomplete mod an hour into the early access. They kill Batman.
Yeah.
They shoot him.
Yeah.
That's insane to me.
It's just not a...
It's a bad look, not only because you had this extremely well-revered voice actor, but also, like, what a bizarre game. Who's your fan base? Like,
I'll give the benefit of the doubt to the developers, and clearly if the voice acting was already recorded, like it was the plan. It wasn't like they were like, ooh, he died, let's make it edgy.
And he knew, like, he did all the voice acting for it.
And I'm sure you're an actor, and I think I would kind of be like, oh yeah, like even if I die tomorrow, like of course release it, because that's like awesome, it's a performance, blah blah blah. however, there's a family, and not just that, but legions of fans who are mourning the loss, and it's just,
to me, it just feels in poor taste.
Yes,
and
you gotta tweak it. Like I'm all for creative freedom and telling the story you want to tell, but
also isn't
the
whole point is that they don't get to kill Batman.
Right.
The whole point is that they're forever, like the whole Joker-Batman dynamic is they're forever foes. It's cat and mouse. It's Tom and Jerry. It feels really weird to have the ending of a game be like, and then you shoot Batman, credits.
And I'm all for originality and trying to break tropes. And it's like, oh, the superhero loses, but like...
Suicide Squad has had such a bad run of just bad ideas that they're like, we're like Jared Leto, like we're gonna be crazy, and everyone's like, we don't want.
No, please don't, Jared. You're not Heath Ledger. You're not Heath Ledger, Jared Leto. You're a very talented actor.
I can't scream anymore. We got to move on.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We actually have a guest. We talked about Smash Brothers for quite a bit.
We have a fantastic guest. We have Mr. E here. I can't wait to talk to him about Smash and hopefully get some pointers.
Some tips. She needs some tips.
I desperately need some tips.
I need some humbling. So Big E coming on next.
Stick around.
Tuned. And we're back with a guest. Give a big welcome to Mr. E.
What?
How's it going? It's a pleasure.
Where'd you come from? Sorry.
Yeah,
all the way from Long Island.
Okay.
How'd you get in here?
I just kind of walked in, opened the door.
They just let anybody in these days, I guess.
Indeed.
No.
Do you want to introduce yourself? Do you want us to introduce you? I mean,
it's actually a big honor to have you here.
Yeah, seriously, thank you so much for coming out here, hanging out with us, coming to the studio. You are a fantastic player and streamer, but go ahead, introduce yourself how you would like to be introduced.
I mean, my name is Eric Weber. My gamer tag is Mr. E. I'm a competitive Super Smash Bros. Ultimate player. Competed in Smash for over a decade now. Rank number 2 in New York. Rank 100 worldwide. And best Lucina in the U.S.
Yeah, you are the best Lucina in the U.S.
Yeah,
which is a huge accomplishment, and that is so amazing. But this isn't your first time hanging with ESR, because you hosted their 2023 Smash Ultimate. What was it?
Super Smash Con documentary.
Yes.
Oh, very cool.
Okay. How was that?
Yeah.
That was an amazing experience. It was very spontaneous as well.
Oh, okay.
Funny enough, I think I actually planned to do that probably like a few days before the event, at least. And I have like no experience hosting or anything like that. So I was just put on the spot, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be, instead of being a pro player, I have to be a pro player / interviewer now, or host. And I was like, sure, like I'll take it and try my best. And I think it came out pretty well. I surprised myself, honestly.
That is so awesome. Yes, you did. Tweak being one of the best players for the longest time now. That's an amazing win. And now I believe you have to play Aquila to make it into top 8.
Top 4.
Top 4. You're already in top 8, which is incredible. That is amazing. So, wow. How are you feeling about that?
To be honest, I'm pretty confident, Because like the last time we played was in Maizuma. It's like a super major in Japan, And the game count was 1-3, but almost all this game was like last situation. So if I do well, but I mean I'm doing well today, so there's a high possibility I can beat him. So I'm like very confident right now.
Yes, for sure. Definitely a crazy, wild event.
Did you find it fun to like talk to players not in a competitive way, but as just like, a casual interview, hanging out?
So a lot of the players, like I've known them for years already, so we've already had like, many conversations now, but to play the role of like an interviewer and, ask their opinions on, how they feel about the tournament or, just kind of like generic questions like that, it was interesting to hear their answers and like how the whole experience was going and all that stuff. Because those kind of questions I don't typically ask when I'm just, like saying what's up to another player.
Or when you're smack talking them, like, why are you going against them?
Right.
How are you feeling over there?
Yeah.
That's very interesting. I got to ask you though, how did you get started? We talked a lot, Marcus and I talked a lot about fighter games today. We talking about Tekken 8 that came out, and Marcus brought up a great point that Smash is not considered a fighter game. We could talk about
debate.
What was that?
It's a debate. It's a debate. Questionable.
Quite over there. It's a fighter game. But how did you get started with Smash? Did you play other games before, or was Smash really your intro into like hardcore gaming?
So I guess it's how I started playing Smash. Pretty much started from my friend Ramik, and I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and sometimes he would come over to my house, and when he would come over, he would bring his GameCube, and he had Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Yeah.
So the moment I've touched that game for the first time, I just fell in love with it. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, I've grew up on Nintendo games. Like my dad got me involved. Like, but before that age, I was probably playing like Mario on the Super Nintendo when I was like 6 or 7. You know. And so I've always loved gaming since I was a kid, of course. But yeah, ever since he brought over that game, me and him would play, and he would try to train me to get better and stuff like that. So that's like kind of where it started. But then at a certain point, I just stopped playing because I wanted to just go outside, you know, like have fun with the kids on the block, you know, just do like kid stuff.
What's outside?
Oh yeah, what's outside, right? What's touching grass, right?
Fresh air, huh?
Familiar with the concept.
But yeah. But okay, so to put that on the back burner, when I was in middle school, at my lunch table, a friend of mine, his name is Troy. We're still really good friends to this day. He just brought up Smash, I guess, out of nowhere, right? And the whole table started talking about Smash, and I was like, hey, I used to play this game when I was younger, and we kind of all just started trash talking each other, right? So me and Troy had to settle our beef after school one day. And yeah, we played on Wi-Fi in Super Smash Bros. Brawl. That's when I played Brawl for the first time, and he destroyed me. Like he beat me.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just like, I'm really upset. Not upset, but I'm like, all right, I gotta like get better now.
Your Michael Jordan benched
Yeah,
moment.
yeah. But long story short, since that day, I basically never stopped playing. Like I wanted to get better to like beat him, and then after I've beaten him, I just like started looking for tournaments in my area.
Whoa.
And I wanted to just like keep it going pretty much.
Dang.
Very
So you
cool.
had like a revenge story. You were just
Yeah.
like, I used to play,
Going
but
on.
I've put childish things away. And you're like, damn, they brought me back
And they
in.
challenged
Yeah,
me.
essentially.
They doubted me.
Did you always, so who did you used to play with
Yes.
in Melee? I'm so curious.
Yeah, I know that you're Lucina.
It was a long time ago, but
So when I used to like playing Fox. Fox was my favorite character, so I guess we chose a good character.
Yeah.
And Dr. Mario. So
Nice.
Classic Dr. Mario.
Yeah.
Throwing
Indeed.
pills.
That's amazing.
Okay, so then how did you start to play as Lucina, Marth? Did you like Fire Emblem, or was it just their play style? Like, what drew you to them?
Okay,
Hot
so-
babes? What was it?
So when I would say like after a couple years after Brawl came out, or after I started playing Brawl, because I was originally a Link main, and I just liked Link because I saw on YouTube this combo video from this guy named Izaw, who's a very well-known content creator and coach like to this day. And he came out with a super cool video of just Link doing cool stuff. So I was like, all right, I want to use Link and be just like him, stuff like that. And yeah, so I started using Link. And after that, though, I saw another video of a Marth player named Mr. R, who is also very well known to this day. And yeah, ever since I saw that, I was like, all right, this is who I'm playing now. And thus the name Mr. E also
I
came
love
from
that.
that. So I
Whoa.
was just a super young, just fanboy of just, you know, of him as a player. And
Do you know him now?
yeah, like
No
now I've known him.
way!
We played in
Ah.
bracket, like we've like
That's so cool. Did you tell him?
oh yeah, he knows from
Oh,
the
that's so
beginning.
cool. I'm sure he loves that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
like,
so cool.
I was in his DMs back in the day, just
Oh
like,
my
hey
God.
man, can you play me? Like I want to play you so bad, like you know,
That's so
get
funny.
it, you know what I'm saying? So
I want to ask more about the community, but first, I do feel like you are the best person to put our debate to rest. What is your opinion? Is Smash Brothers a fighting game?
definitely.
Definitely.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
Bam. I'm right. Marcus is wrong. Let's fucking go.
I will concede gladly. I'm just curious. So you wouldn't put it in a kind of separate kind of what do they call it? Like a brawler or something kind of.
He made a good point. I'll put some context to it. We talked about Tekken 8 and how we were excited for it. We talked about how sort of like Street Fighter, Tekken, Soul Calibur, Mortal Kombat, they all sort of have this similar feel And then Smash feels almost entirely different, which I agree with.
Like a wrestling game, I would also consider a different category.
Sure, like
than
it's
like a fighting
you're
game.
still
When you
fighting.
think of a fighting game.
Yeah, but I said I think Smash is just it's a Nintendoized version. Like the jumping, the maps, the throwing people off stuff, the character combos, which are dope. Yeah, I said I still think it's categorized as a fighter game. So that was my argument.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like very valid and reasonable. I mean,
What
I
does
feel like the
what does
term
the community call it?
I mean, the community overall says fighting game.
Okay.
I'm fairly certain.
Dang.
I mean, because we're just
You're
at lots
expert.
of like FGC events as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, stuff like that. And I also feel like the term brawler is also very new compared to like it's kind of very, very new. And but yeah, no, I still consider Smash a fighting game. I mean, it's not like a traditional fighting game. And I think that's how like we kind of differentiate between like, you know, like Tekken, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Like we'll say like, okay, that's a traditional fighter, but Smash is still like a fighter, right? Just like a different variation.
I will stand corrected.
I will hold
Gladly.
this over your
You win this
head
one,
for the
Sydney.
rest of the day.
One
I'm
tally.
so happy. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, but community.
yeah.
And I do watch competitive Super Smash Brothers. Always watched a little more Melee than Ultimate, but getting a little more into Ultimate. And it seems so big. I mean, these tournaments are huge and so many eyes on these players, but it also feels like it's consistently similar players kind of at the top of the brackets. So as a viewer, it seems like a huge world and community, but I imagine sometimes with these things, it's much more close knit, especially at the higher levels than we might imagine. Can you speak a little to that?
I mean, I would say, yeah, in terms of like a lot of the players that are kind of at the top now, continuing to perform really well and kind of stay at the top, that's kind of been a trend for like a pretty long time now. Like even in Smash 4, a lot of those players are also at the top and stuff like that. And I mean, you know, if you're like a really, really good player, you typically want to be, you know, playing with the other players that are close to you in rank so that you can help each other get better and all that stuff. So, you know, lots of these players, that's what they do. Right?
Yeah.
But overall, yeah, no, the community is very, very big. I mean, I think Smash has just the most entrants at any majors compared to any other like fighting game. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much
Awesome.
it.
Do you have, as you like normally play as Lucina, do you have any other characters that you absolutely hate playing against? Like if somebody comes up during a competition immediately, just against Lucina's type too, like immediately are you like, fuck, I'm not built for this?
So I'll never say I'm like not built for it, but
He would never say that. And I'm not saying that he would say that. I'm saying Sydney would say that in a moment. I'd be like, I'm screwed.
But matchups in Smash Brothers are a thing.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, like so luckily like Lucina's overall kit is very good. Like it can handle pretty much every different type of character, but there's some that are still really, really annoying. Like personally, I hate fighting against Richter. He's a character that just ledge traps Lucina hard. Like, you know, he just throws his freaking firewater thing on the ledge and like you just can't get off.
Yep.
And it's like really hard for her to get out of that situation. And on top of that, like his whip just outranges us and stuff like that. So it's just so hard to hit a character like that.
It's more strategic for you.
Yeah, like I have to really make sure I'm on my A game and in like every way to like beat that character.
Well, in a positive spin, are there any other characters that you really enjoy playing, but maybe don't play like at top tier, you know, competitions, but you play on your own?
I would say I really enjoy playing against like other sword characters for the most part. Like even if it's like a hard matchup overall, like I like playing against Cloud. I like playing against like other Marths and Lucinas.
Yeah. Is
you know.
Lucina versus Lucina common? Does that happen?
Honestly, okay, on my stream it happens a lot, but
Okay.
that's not
Yeah.
too much in bracket too much now.
Okay. Do they
Yeah.
try to avoid that? Or is it just kind of just doesn't
no,
happen
I wouldn't say they
naturally?
try to avoid it.
Okay.
It's kind of one of those
Yeah.
things that just happen. Typically, people who like main Lucina, pretty much that's like their character. You
Yeah.
know? So if we play in bracket, I'm gonna be playing them in the ditto.
Do you ever play as anybody else?
In bracket, no, but I have been considering picking up another character, which
you
is
thinking your
What are
boy?
you thinking?
Bringing your
oh,
boy?
bringing the link back? Nah,
No,
not
that's
Link.
old
school.
That's super old.
It's not
school.
happening. Okay.
But I've been thinking about playing Power Mithra.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that character is potentially just like the overall best sword character I think in the game. And
You like the sword baddies.
oh, of course.
Dang, okay.
During what era, would you say you kind of started making a name for yourself? Was it back in Brawl? Was it during Smash 4? Or was it during the earlier days of
So
Ultimate?
so I would say in Smash 4 was when I had like my breakout for sure. But towards the end of Brawl, I started to make my name in New York City or like in the New York community, the online community and stuff like that. And that's when like a lot of the players or even like the really good players like knew who I was like towards the end of Brawl.
Very cool.
But then in Smash 4, I managed to beat like my breakout performance was when I beat Zero, who was like the #1 player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I beat him at like Evo 2016, I
Dang.
believe.
Wow.
And that is when, just like
How did you
blew up.
feel?
That's incredible.
I felt really great. Like that
What a
moment, I've always
crazy feeling.
yeah, like that was one of the greatest days just ever. I was like, holy moly.
Was that, I'm sure it probably came before then. Was there a moment where you were kind of like, oh, I can do this. Like I can be a top player.
So I've always felt that for like a really long time, but of course you may have moments where you just don't perform well or like you'll lose early and stuff, and that could be like really demoralizing, you know.
Yeah.
But I've always knew that I felt like I had it in me to, despite all of those moments where I may have gotten discouraged, I always knew if it was at the right day on the right time and if I felt the right way, like I could make it happen, you know? So
Inspirational.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, and did you just start on like Twitch, or how did you get connected with the community? I know a lot of people out there want to play and want to compete. How would you go about leaving them some advice?
Well, I mean, I think in today's age, Twitter is definitely the place to be. That's where like the Smash talk is as
Smash
prevalent.
talk. I love it.
And that's where the community kind of talks and interacts with each other. It's mainly on like Twitter. But back then, like for example, in Brawl, there was a website called All is Brawl. And on that website, you can join chat rooms. You can play in like an online ladder and just like see what's going on in the community, make posts. It was like our social media site specifically for Smash. It was crazy. Like
It
that's
doesn't
like,
exist anymore?
Nah,
Oh,
that got
bummer.
that's like got nuked a while ago.
Oh, I miss old internet
Rest in peace.
stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that site was something. But yeah, I mean, mainly on Twitter, I would say.
And just
is
put
where
yourself
you'll
out
find-
there.
Yeah,
just start
put yourself
talking to
out
people.
there, follow some of the players that you're interested in, and they will then tweet out at points like, hey, we're going to be at this tournament, and all that stuff. That's how you find out about like different events and all that.
And have you always been in Long Island?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like that got to help a little bit being close to New York with the tournament scene.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, just tri-state in general has always been, for some reason, just a super, super strong region throughout Brawl, throughout like everything. So it's definitely been a blessing to like grow up in this scene and like be able to play with a lot of the players that are just like really well.
Are the New York players like true New Yorkers when they play?
Trash
Are they
talking.
yeah, like tough on the outside, but then you get to know them and
they're,
they're
like,
little
actually
sweeties.
nice. Yeah.
I would say like to a degree. I wouldn't say like tough type thing, but like I would say like Zombo, who's like the #1 player right
Yeah.
now in New York, is like an example of a kid who, I mean, I knew this kid like before he got like really, really good, and he's always been like a trash talker, just like, you know what I'm saying, just like a little goon. But then, you get to know him, and he's not like, he's still like a sweet kid at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you trash talk? What's your like style when you're competing? Are you silent? Are you mysterious?
So I would say like I don't really trash talk. I've never really been that kind of player that wanted to really trash talk. I've always enjoyed being the player that shuts people up without even, like, I don't even have to trash talk, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Opening move,
they already
and they're like, "Oop."
noticed.
Let your
Yeah, because
game.
I'm just like, at the end of the day, I've always been like a fan of a mentality where like, it doesn't matter what I say, it matters what I do.
Mm.
Yeah.
So like, it doesn't matter, if someone tries to trash talk me or whatever, it doesn't like bother me, but when push comes to shove and like we're actually playing in bracket, like they know like what the deal is,
I would be very afraid to play against you. I
Yeah.
like say something and you're just poker faced and you're just like,
Yeah.
Let's see who wins. I'd be like, oh no, oh god.
100%.
Yeah, that's intimidating.
See, with everything I do, I'm actually deeply insecure. So like I use trash talk as the only possible way.
Are you talking about your defense mechanisms?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Psychological warfare.
Marcus, we got to break those walls down. You got to learn from Mr. E. You don't have to be like that.
I'd rather just keep building an imaginary chip on my shoulder. And go
Okay.
through life that way.
It's getting pretty
personally.
big.
It's getting huge. Yeah.
So I got to ask then, Smash, is it only for these competitions then? Do you ever play for fun these days? Like, do you enjoy it for fun, or do you kind of hold off because you'll get burnt out?
So I definitely enjoy playing Smash for fun, but I don't really feel like I have the time to even play it for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was like just playing with some friends or at like a party and like they randomly have Smash, I may hop on and have some fun, But
Sure.
Overall, it's mainly just serious. It's just competition. It's just business that I enjoy,
Yeah.
you know?
Do you got any big things coming up this year?
I will say definitely now, yes. Recently, I actually got sponsored by a team.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you
Nice.
so
Oh,
much.
hell
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that's amazing.
You want to plug them? You want to talk about
Oh,
it? Or?
heck yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
shout outs to Empire Gaming. They just decided to actually pick me up around a week or two ago.
Whoa.
Okay.
And I'm on the same team as Tilde. If you guys are familiar with Tilde, he's like the best Falco in the world, also from New York.
No
Nice.
way.
So he's building up
Nice.
kind of like a New York tri-state army, it seems.
I love
Dang.
that.
So
Are you guys gonna hang out?
Oh yeah, we
Gonna
hung
meet up?
out.
Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
definitely. We already hung out
Wow.
and grabbed dinner
Oh
at
my
Let's Make
gosh.
Big Moves.
Hey.
Yeah, he's a really, really nice guy.
Heck yeah.
Incredible.
And yeah, he's going to be helping me get to a lot of events coming up, including Genesis, which I booked my flight for and stuff.
Wow.
Dope.
Genesis.
Where's that?
That's going to be in Northern California.
Nice.
Fun.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Big
So,
year already.
Yeah.
Starting the year
Yeah.
off strong. Big congrats. That's huge.
Thank you
that's,
so
That's
much.
huge. That's awesome. Good for you.
Appreciate that.
We kind of noticed a little bit of a trend in the last few years, I think, on the downswing of COVID, but maybe a little bit of a lull in esports we've
Yeah.
noticed in the industry as a whole.
Mhm.
Have you noticed that, and how has that kind of affected you as a
Ooh,
competitive player?
definitely. I would say overall, yeah. Like after like COVID definitely affected the esports scene in a really like negative way, I would say overall, because we were having like really big tournaments like prior to COVID and stuff like that. Of course we're building it back up now, but we definitely took like a little bit of a hit. And of course like lots of sponsors actually dropped out of competing or like the esports scene in general, so that affected us.
Yeah.
Greatly.
Were you with anybody and then that's why you were looking for somebody new, or?
I've been with quite a few different teams now. And I don't totally know if COVID was a direct reason why me and the team split. But yeah, no, I know just with like a lot of my colleagues that like, once COVID happened, all the offline tournaments kind of came to an end, so lots of sponsors dropped out. But yeah, long story short, like we did develop a really big online community. Of
Yeah.
course, thanks to like Hungrybox, who hosts like Coinbox every week and stuff like that to really help keep the players engaged and all that. So that's been really huge.
I know the
Um,
in-person ones are just like so
Yeah.
fantastic. Like the energy that everybody brings to it
Yep.
live is just, I mean, you could say this for almost all live events that got shut down during COVID. It's a completely different feel online. Do you feel like you were performing better or differently? Like, do you want to do more in-person stuff? Because you're just like, yeah, it gets my like energy up and.
Oh, 100%. I mean, competing over Wi-Fi was like so bothersome and annoying, like so unenjoyable. I considered like quitting playing Smash and just playing Fortnite instead or something that has like good
Whoa.
online just to have fun with what I'm doing, right? But yeah, long story short, I've always of course decided to, all right, let me just suck it up. Even if I really don't enjoy this right now, I'm sure it'll help me in some way, shape, or form. As far as like my gameplay goes. But yeah, once offline hit, like I started like doing really well again.
Do you think there's like an upswing now with the esports? Do you think it's like coming back around because?
Oh yeah, like now that we've kind of figured out how to bounce back a little bit from COVID, and we've had more sponsors join the community like Luminosity, and Team Liquid getting more involved as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we've really developed like plans to just push forward and everything like that.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I love that.
Do you do anything in your spare time, the limited spare time that I'm sure you have because you're a very, very busy person? What do you do for fun? And if it's playing video games, that's completely okay.
So lately it's been just like going out to like different clubs and like dancing and just like vibing and stuff like that.
Nice.
So like it's been like a lot of that whenever I do have the time.
Okay.
But aside from that, it's mainly just, working and stuff. Like I do school as well now. So if I'm not playing Smash or going to a tournament, I'm either going to the gym or working my day job, which is like a physical therapy day job. I'm like an aide at the moment. So
Whoa.
very
Wait,
just a
so-
bunch of random stuff.
So you're
Renaissance man.
not only doing competitions, it sounds like you have a social life, you have a job, you are also in school.
Yeah.
And you're how could you have any advice for me?
Yeah. How do you balance it all?
All of that.
I think a lot of it is just like discipline for sure. And I also realize that, if you're just in any type of financial situation, you have to like figure out ways to just stay focused and, just like stay on the grind, really. Like that's all I care about. Like I don't really want to, as much as I enjoy like having fun and doing like extracurricular stuff, I try to make time for that, going out dancing and stuff. But like I guess I just have like my priorities like really, down pat, I would say right now.
That's
So,
real.
Yeah.
That's very real advice.
Easier said than done, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of how bad you want it. Like
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of players out there, whether casual or just starting out, that like need to hear that and also need to know that it's possible if you just keep not giving up, sticking to a plan, keeping your day job, having like a financial backing while you're trying to get sponsored or like get on a team. That is really real advice that I think a lot of people maybe don't want to hear, but it's the truth. So yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah.
No, definitely. And to be honest, like the only reason why I'm actually doing school right now is because I got like a full ride scholarship to go because of Smash.
No
'Cause-
way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Dude. Wow. So much stuff is going on in your
so many
life.
doors. That's awesome.
Thank
Congrats.
you. Yeah.
Thank you again for also making the time to come hang out with
Yeah.
us. It means a lot, and we know you're busy, but it's really cool to have you in the studio. We'd love to have you back
Yeah.
anytime you want to come back.
Like maybe tomorrow?
like maybe
Listen,
tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow?
We can potentially
Cool.
make that happen.
Because Sydney's not, by her admission,
Don't tell him.
not the strongest Smash player in the
Don't
world.
tell him that.
I'm very mediocre myself. I think we
it's all
both could
good.
use some tips.
I could use some pointers.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a big button masher. It does well in other fighting games. I'm pretty okay at Tekken. I can hold my own. I like Tekken a lot. But
Honestly, button mashing is pretty good in Smash too. I'm not gonna lie.
you're the
heard- you
first
heard it?
person. You are the first person. I'm taking your advice only
Yeah.
because you are a professional player. You're the first person who's ever said that to me. So everyone
for
else
sure.
gives me such shit for button mashing.
Oh yeah, no, just watch some Rob players, watch some freaking Roy players. Watch some, yeah,
So I need to play as Roy then.
Or
Maybe
probably
Rob.
Rob. You play
Rob?
Rob?
Okay, maybe I've just been playing the wrong characters, trying to get fancy with it. Okay, so maybe we can all
Yeah. That's what
Play?
I'm looking for.
That would be
yeah,
really
we should
cool.
play
That
in
would
the
be really
future
fun.
for sure.
I
Get
would
our butts
love.
kicked.
God, I would love to
Get
play
real
you.
humbled.
Love to play
get
you,
it.
Eric.
I don't know if I would love to play him.
No, I
but
would love to.
I would enjoy it.
For the comedy alone, I would love to.
Fair. I'd love to watch.
Yeah, there you
I'll be
go.
down.
There you go.
I'll commentate.
Cool. I mean, I would love to. I'd be down. As far as tomorrow, I guess we'll just have to like see because I think I am scheduled to work tomorrow. But
No
we'll see, like,
worries.
what's up.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
I'll
figure
we'll
it out
make time.
somehow.
I will
Yeah,
call
I'll
your
just-
boss
Yeah,
and
Sure,
tell
I'll
them you
just,
have
like-
to come here.
I'll just, say I got COVID or something.
Yeah, no.
No.
Thank you again for coming. This has been fantastic. We got to wrap it up because we got to move on to our tier
Tier
list.
list, yes.
We're talking about Nintendo franchises. If you could, while you're here,
Yes.
you could
Ooh.
place Smash anywhere in the Nintendo franchise S to D tier list.
Super S.
Wow.
Of course.
I
Easy money.
What a
It's
shock.
correct.
What a
It's
surprise.
correct.
S
Will-
for surprise.
Will we place Super Smash Brothers on S? Because this is our tier list, after all.
I guess
Oh, yeah.
Mystery, so
I'm-
to say.
I'm gonna
Stay tuned.
say yes. I think we will.
Yeah, we will.
Stay tuned, everybody.
We will.
We'll see you soon. Tier. That's the
Very
new
nice.
intro I just made up for our tier list.
We're totally keeping it and definitely doing it again.
What is wrong with me?
No, I love it. That's
right.
great.
We're doing a tier list today.
Yes.
But I Okay, I don't know as much as you do about today's tier list. I didn't grow up with this specific console and franchises, so I'm going to let you take the lead on it.
Thank you.
But I'm going to give useless commentary
I love it.
based on what I think.
Just make bold claims.
Yeah.
First instinct, just
I'm going to make
hot takes.
just
What we want.
factual claims that
Yes.
are not true.
Yes. We're tier listing Nintendo franchises. We
Bada
already
bing.
did general
Bada
video
boom.
game franchises. I am a Nintendo guy. Grew up with Nintendo, NES, Nintendo 64, GameCube, Wii. In my late. Anyway, regardless, we have S tier, A, B, C, D, and I think right off the bat, 2 franchises we covered yesterday.
I think
a couple days ago.
A couple days ago. I think I
Yeah.
know what you're gonna. I was
Yeah.
gonna say, are you going to put Mario? But there's
I am.
many Marios.
There are. Well, that's the thing about Mario. Mario, there's, and I'm including, the wider spin-off franchises as well. So many Mario games. Name me a bad one. Name me a truly bad Mario game, and it's almost impossible. There's a couple of kind of clunkers. Paper Mario, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
There's some different stuff in there. But as far as especially mainline Mario games,
Okay, so you're talking You're talking about Mario Kart.
yeah. Well, not even necessarily
Oh.
Mario Kart. You could include Mario Kart.
I want to see what you want to put in S tier because I assumed
Yes.
it was Mario, but what?
It is Mario.
Okay.
And again, it's especially when you're looking at mainline. Yeah, you have your new Super Mario Brothers 2 and a
Yeah.
couple of ones that are kind of above average, but they're still perfectly crafted platformers. They're just across the board. Mario games are consistently excellent and a standard of high quality, and I got to put it S tier. And I'm also throwing Zelda in there. There's a couple of kind of Zeldas that like Triforce Heroes people aren't crazy
yeah.
about, but there's about 20 Zelda games, and a majority of them are S tier. And even Zelda 2, somewhat of a cult classic. So I'm putting both Mario and Zelda in S tier right off the bat.
I would like to know everything you know about Dr. Mario.
Oh, great. Great question.
I need to know. I know who Dr. Mario is.
Mhm.
I've seen him in his cute little outfit.
Dr. Mario is a phenomenal game. It was released after Tetris, a very different puzzle game than Tetris, but
Okay.
also it's falling blocks to an extent and eliminating viruses instead of lines. But still an excellent, excellent game. I dare say close to an S tier. I would say maybe an A personally for me. I'm more of a Tetris guy.
Okay.
Great, great game. Mario Party on the Game Boy. Great game. Same exact game. Dr. Mario. Sorry, I was saying Mario on the Game Boy. Dr. Mario on the Game Boy. Dr. Mario Nintendo 64. Dr. Mario 64, as they call
Same
it.
game.
Same exact game. Ooh, they put a little story mode in there.
So
But it's the same exact game.
All right, so they're calling this a franchise, but
Yeah.
really it's just the same game built out for different
Same
platforms.
game. There's Dr. Luigi, where you're Luigi, and it's the same game. And then there's Dr. Mario Online, which was great because it's online, but it was the same game.
So
it's the
I
same
think maybe
game. It's a C tier for me
okay.
because it's not a franchise. It's a solid game from the 80s that or maybe 1990, 89 or 90, that they just keep remaking, and there's nothing new to the franchise. It's not a lively franchise at all. It's a C, and I feel like that's generous only because the solid base game is that solid.
I am fine with that. The Mario games that I was going to choose that I am familiar with, which I'm curious about your opinion. I don't really know if they're S tier. I guess compared to Mario,
Yeah.
these are spin-off games
Yeah.
that maybe don't deserve S tier, but Mario Kart, I think at least deserves B.
I'm going to say S tier for Mario Kart.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, actually. I thought you would be much more harsh.
There's not really any bad Mario Kart either. I mean, Super Mario Kart is definitely very dated. The Game Boy Advanced
Yeah.
is somewhat dated, but there is not. I mean, they stuck with what works,
Yep.
and it's so popular for a reason, and it's such a solid gameplay loop
Yeah.
with the track. It's a loop.
Come on.
Yeah. So honestly, I'm torn between A and S. I could see it bumping it down to an A because I don't hold it in as high of regard as Mario and Zelda.
Yeah, but what about, okay, so then I'm also going to throw in another one. Mario Party,
That's a
though
good question.
very different from
Yeah.
Mario Kart.
Yeah.
It's still, I would say, like a larger group game. I don't know. To me, I love Mario Party
Me too.
more. You play with a group, but I feel like there is more to the Mario Party games. Like they've done more with them than the Mario Kart games. What do you think?
I will. You're right. You're absolutely right, and I will agree with your hot take in the fact that I personally more of a Mario Party player than Mario
Whoa.
Kart. I like Mario Kart a lot. Don't get me wrong.
I didn't think you.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
great gameplay loop because of the track. Did I make that joke? Anyway,
Brother.
yeah. So Mario Party though, I would prefer to play Mario Party 2 or Mario Party 3 than
Okay.
any Mario Kart.
Than any Mario Kart?
Any Mario Kart. Me personally, because I
Whoa.
love Mario Party 2 and 3. That's the problem with Mario Party, is unlike Mario Kart, it is incredibly inconsistent. Mario Party 2, 3, as well as 4 and 5 are great games. Super Mario Party was solid. There was like a 15-year run of mediocre to bad Mario Party games. I dare say there are more mediocre to bad Mario Party games than good. I do think the franchise is getting better. Super Mario Party was a slight return to form, but still didn't match the heights of Mario Party 2 and 3 on
What did you
Nintendo
like
64.
so much about 2 and 3?
The mini games,
You just thought they were better.
the maps
Okay.
better. There's a simplicity to it.
Yeah.
It was the right number of items. That was where you could have 3 items.
Mhm.
Mario Party, I think 3 is when you could have 3 items. Mario Party 1 is totally different. They're experimenting. They changed a ton of stuff. Mario Party 2, especially with like Western Land,
Yeah.
Pirate Land,
Oh,
like
yeah,
it's
that was
so
so
iconic.
fun.
Yes, and they're not even that many maps in the modern Mario parties. It's just they've really stripped
No.
it down.
Yeah.
Minigames just aren't as fun in my opinion, and overall, just because of the inconsistency, which is the argument I keep going back to, Mario Party's a B for me.
Okay, but do you think you're like the fact that you love 2 and 3 so much, does it outweigh the Mario Kart franchise? Like, you think Mario Kart is still A?
No, because for me, Mario Party 2 and 3 are like 9s and 10s. And then you throw a ton of like 4s and 5s in there, whereas like Mario Kart is like 9, 9, 9, 9, 9. It's a couple of 10, like across the board.
All
Just
right. So you're saying
so solid.
the median makes it go so that the Mario Kart becomes A.
Exactly.
And then, okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I think I feel similarly to you in that I like most Mario parties better than Mario Kart.
Sure.
But there are certainly a few that I just would never play.
Yeah.
And we're judging the franchises here, so.
But your love of Mario Party, I can bring it up to an A if you'd like from a B, 'cause
Could we?
I know you don't like Nintendo, but
Could-
you're involved.
I
You're
like
part of
Nintendo.
this. No, you like Nintendo.
I like Nintendo. I just didn't own a Nintendo console until
Sure.
I got my Switch.
Yeah.
It was my first one. I'm a really grown baby.
Just for you,
Yeah?
it's going to A. But I'm going to very quickly, Paper Mario, I'm putting in B.
B.
Yeah,
I
first
thought
3
it would
games.
I thought it'd be lower.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I think the first 3 games are so excellent.
Okay.
And I'm actually a big fan of the Wii Paper Mario, Super Paper Mario.
I never played that one.
Which a lot of people don't like because it's definitely a change from Thousand Year Door, which is the best in the original. I love the first 3. Really, kind of strongly dislike all the other Paper Mario's personally.
I don't think you're
because-
alone.
No,
Yeah.
it's just not for me. So I that's a B for me. Not enough to go to a C. It's still a Mario franchise and an excellent one at that with some great games. So I'll put it at B.
Can I throw another quick one in?
Please.
Animal Crossing.
Okay. I'll let you be the expert on this one.
Well, the first time I played Animal Crossing was on a GameCube at my cousin's house.
Nice.
They had a GameCube. We didn't have a GameCube.
You had to have a whole nother memory card just to play
Yeah.
Animal Crossing on GameCube.
And I played it so infrequently because I would go there on holidays and I was so in love with it that I wouldn't even hang out with my family and I would just go into their basement and play my Animal Crossing game on their GameCube. And when I finally got my Switch and got Animal Crossing, COVID also happened.
Sure.
And I think the new Animal Crossing game, New Horizons, saved so many people
It did.
mentally. I just remember playing with friends, being on Discord, talking, hanging out, visiting each other's islands. Like, we spent months doing that.
Yeah.
And the game didn't get stale. The game was amazingly well made. And I think as a franchise as a whole, they've continually upped gameplay, graphics, island. Well, we didn't even have islands, but like house design. You know, they've added so much to it, and it's expanded so much. I don't know if it's S tier because it's hard. I don't want to say it's definitely A, but I'm debating if it's S.
I'm comfortable with A personally. I know, and it's a little biased. I do enjoy Animal Crossing. I don't have the attention span for it. I played it more when I was young. I had the GameCube version, got the DS version. Was it New Leaf? Regardless.
Oh yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Couldn't get into it just because I just didn't have the attention span. My brother loves the Switch version. So again, I will leave this to your expertise. If you really want it to be an S, I will put it as an S. I think
A is okay.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking now, like, I have not picked up the game in a while.
Yeah.
I think it served its purpose. You know, there was a time and a place, and they had an excellent release for it. They had an excellent marketing team for it, for the newest game, I should say. I think A is okay.
I think they had a mobile game that was a bit of a stumble, but
Yeah, I can't speak on. So that's the
I'm
other
no
thing.
expert on Animal Crossing.
There's a few that I'm like just not quite familiar with, so I'm okay with putting in an A.
I think A is fair.
Do you have any other ones you want to throw on?
Oh yeah, for sure. Star Fox.
Oh,
That's another one where it's just super opposite ends of the spectrum.
yeah.
Star Fox 64 is one of my top 3 or 5 favorite games of all time. I love Star Fox 64. I grew up with Star Fox Adventures even, which I don't hate as much as many, but they're so inconsistent and there's so many bad Star Fox games. Or just mediocre. There's no real terrible ones. I think it's a solid B.
You're being really generous for this.
It's still a Nintendo franchise.
I know,
They're
this
still
shows
great.
your Nintendo franchise love.
Yeah.
Do like two more really quick.
Sure.
And then we'll wrap it. Oh, but I do want to throw, can I
ahead.
just throw Kirby up
Please,
there?
of course.
Can we just throw Kirby into S tier?
As a character, yes, but I can't do it as a franchise.
He's so mean to me. Do you see
too many
how
dud
mean,
games.
How mean he is
I'm
to
not
me?
mean. I just Kirby has consistently good, not great games.
Can
in
you
my opinion.
put Kirby in C for Kirby?
Sure, I would have given him a B or an A, but yeah, we'll give it a C for Kirby. I love that. It makes it easy. Real quick, Super Smash Brothers.
Oh.
I think so consistent. Even Smash 4, which people aren't crazy about. Brawl, which some people aren't crazy about.
Yeah.
For the time, they do something slightly different and are still excellent across the board. And I think especially talking to Mr. E today,
Yeah.
I think it's an S. I think Super Smash Brothers is an S.
I think our interview really influenced you.
I mean, again, I'm really looking at consistency across the board.
Yeah.
And Smash Brothers is consistently consistent. Yes, some of the games have aged a little poorly, but I still think they mostly hold up.
S for Smash.
Yeah. Pokemon, what do you think?
Ooh, they're so okay. I'm with you. I love OG Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Really Gen 1.
Well, people don't like Gen 1 anymore, but yes, we like Gen 1.
I like Gen 1.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about I don't know anything about new Pokemon. They're all aliens to me. So I can't really speak on that. I really liked Pokemon Snap.
This Pokemon Snap's great.
Really fun.
The N64 spin-off.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go is great.
I loved
it.
Yeah. So like the newer stuff they're putting out, I think it's good enough that it's not dragging it down in my mind. I would put it at least in A.
I think A is fair.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do it.
I think there's enough kind of spin-offs that are clunkers. Hey You Pikachu still haunts my childhood. And I know some of the newer games rub people the wrong way for a variety of reasons. But it's still an A. It's the best-selling franchise for a reason.
I feel
excellent.
good with I feel good with this list.
Pokemon Go. Yeah.
You want to wrap? I feel like
let me just do rapid fire. Metroid we talked about before. That's a solid A.
Okay.
Would be an S if it wasn't for Other M and Federation Force, but a solid A. One of my personal favorites. WarioWare I'm gonna put a B because I love WarioWare. You knock it down now. I love the original WarioWares. It's just again there's a lot of clunkers, but like Twisted, Touched, original Mega games. A B, I think is fair. I can't knock it down further
put
than
it
that.
in B.
I'm too weird. I love WarioWare too much. Just throwing some others out there. Oh boy. Like Donkey Kong's tricky because I love Donkey Kong Country.
Oh.
And if it's just Donkey Kong Country, that would be an S.
Yeah.
But with all the other Donkey Kongs out there, there's been some weird spin-offs. An A.
There's also like the family tree of Donkey Kong is so complicated and confusing.
I maybe made a video about that.
Somebody's uncle is also their brother. You gonna put it in A?
I'm putting it in A.
I'm down for that. I like me
Donkey
some Donkey Kong, some Cranky Kong.
Yeah. F-Zero I'm gonna put as a B for the sole reason all excellent games that they've come out with, but we just haven't had an F-Zero game in decades.
Yeah.
Since the GameCube.
Hard to judge.
Yes,
but
and I'm mad at Nintendo. So you're going from an A to a B. Although F-Zero 99 is great.
Can you let me know where you're going to put Pikmin?
Pikmin? I'm giving an S.
Whoa!
I don't play Pikmin personally.
Okay.
It's not really for me. I played through the first
I love
two.
those little guys.
I played through the first two. I was charmed. I enjoyed it very much. Not quite the game for me to invest in Pikmin 3 and 4 just yet. However, from what I know, my brother's a big Pikmin fan.
Yeah.
All 4 games, superb across the board. For that style of gameplay, for those who enjoyed Pikmin, just consistently excellent across the board. Maybe knock it down to an A because again,
I'm okay with S.
I don't think it's as strong as your Mario, Zeldas, Mario Karts,
but you can't
and Super Smash.
Cross compare. It's S on its own as a franchise.
Yeah, I'll put Pikmin S.
Yeah,
just for consistency.
S for superb. I like it.
Is there anything here that I would put in a D? ARMS? Is there an ARMS 2? Did that come out?
You know what?
I don't think it came out.
I don't know, but because you're bringing that up, I'm seeing Bayonetta on here, and I'm confused because I didn't think that Bayonetta was strictly a Nintendo franchise. Am I wrong about that?
No, it's not. I mean, Bayonetta 2, if I remember correctly, was a Wii U exclusive for a time.
But it's not.
But it's not. So I don't want to put it in a D just because I don't consider it a non-Nintendo franchise, but
you're going to?
I mean, we got to put something in D, right?
I mean, I don't dislike Bayonetta. Yeah, put it in D because I think they're misrepresenting themselves.
We are going to get murdered on the internet. ARMS, again, I'm trying to confirm if there is an ARMS 2. ARMS 2 came out in 2020, and I just didn't even realize.
Did you want to play it?
I was going to put it in... Well, I liked ARMS 1, but I was going to put it in D because I was like, I thought there's only one game. But clearly there's 2. So ARMS, you saved yourself. There's also only a couple of games. I don't know if that really counts as a franchise. I feel like you need at least 3.
I don't really hate anything.
It's Nintendo. It's solid for a reason.
There's also Fire Emblem. Do we want to throw that? I mean, Fire Emblem is an excellent franchise, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to become an enemy of the state by doing something wrong.
Well, and that's another one where I've played a couple of Fire Emblem games.
Yeah, I know the characters.
Not enough to gauge the consistency across the board.
So maybe we have this other tier that's just kind of like
played enough.
We generally like the idea of these franchises, and I put Fire Emblem in there with a big heart.
100%. Punch Out has a very near and dear place in my heart. I want to give it an A.
You're being so unbelievably generous.
These are Nintendo franchises
I know.
that are excellent for a reason.
I'll let you do it. I'm not the hater. I'm not the hater. I'm the yes man in this scenario.
Punch Out only has 4 games, right? The arcade version, NES with Mike Tyson, Super Punch Out, which is very different, and then the Wii version of Punch Out. And they're all really, really good. I'm almost tempted to give it an S, but because there's only been 4 releases, there hasn't really been a release in the last 10 years. It doesn't get a lot of love, and arcade game's kind of clunky. Super Punch Out's not as good as the NES version.
I think giving it an A is very nice. I think you're being really nice.
Again, I'm looking at It's because all of these franchises probably have at least one S.
Yeah.
In there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For each game within the franchise.
100%.
Yeah. I agree.
100%. A Mother, I kind of want to put in B again, just for the fact of like, hey, give us more.
Yeah.
We want more Earthbound. We want more
incentivizing
NS.
Nintendo. If you hear this.
I mean.
Yeah, do it. I like Earthbound. I'm down for an A.
B.
Oh. Did you say B?
First Mother is very hard to play nowadays. It's very much an 80s turn-based RPG that I think
different.
Has transcended, just not aging very well to where like kind of unplayable, I dare say.
Okay, we can slot it in B.
So I'm putting it in a B because of the inconsistent releases, because of
that's fair.
I mean, Mother 3, did we ever get Mother 3 in America? Nintendo dropping the ball in general on giving us Earthbound or Mother is why I'm putting it as a B. I know that the games are all pretty darn good.
Throw it in B then.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
I'm pretty happy with this tier list.
I'm good to call it a day for that. I think that is an excellent tier list.
That's all we have time for. I'd love to throw Kid Icarus, and regardless, maybe another day.
I think we got to take it to Postmarket News though with Samurai.
Postmarket News with Samurai.
Let's see what he's got
favorite
cooking up for us today.
Postmark News. Welcome back, everyone, to Next Level Play podcast, and of course, our favorite segment, Postmarket News. With Samurai, here to make some predictions about the future.
That will absolutely come true. Samurai has the gift of sight. He can predict. He can predict anything.
He's certainly gifted.
He's so gifted. He's made some great predictions for us in the past, and I think you're just gonna do the same thing today. I can't wait to hear.
Special guy.
Yeah.
I got a real good one for you today. I'm coming in hot. I got something really good for you today. You know, everything I predict does come true, and these powers are actually getting out of hand. They're kind of driving me mad when I'm off camera, so I have to limit the predictions to video games. But I know things about everybody in this room that, well, if you knew, you would descend into madness.
Do you keep the glasses on so that it protects you from like our futures? Like otherwise you'd be hearing like our thoughts 24/7.
That is one of the reasons.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
The other reason is because it's part of the iconic samurai aesthetic, and of course I sell my own line of sunglasses. www.samuraiglasses.com /glasses. Two dots glasses.
Do you know what I'm thinking about you right now?
I do, but I would not share it because I wouldn't want to get into your personal feelings on Samurai, but let me tell the audience, they are positive.
Yeah.
And they are warm. Anyway, we got a prediction today. We got a really good one. You guys know about the game Alone in the Dark?
Yes.
1992, MS-DOS.
Or as a survival horror junkie, you
Yeah.
know, I look at that and Sweet Home as, you know, real precursors, the granddaddies of the industry that led to the Resident Evils,
Yeah.
the Dino Crises, the Silent Hills of the late 90s.
I feel like
of course I know Alone
for
in
a
the Dark.
lot of people, this was like the first. This came out before Resident Evil, and then
Oh, yeah.
they moved toward Resident Evil because this game, the original is quite dated, and the graphics are quite dated.
And it's charmingly dated.
Charmingly
how bad
dated.
and polygonal the graphics are. It's part of the charm, though,
but
for sure.
it's like it's a shooter. You're a detective.
More of a adventure puzzle,
Adventure.
survival horror really is
Okay.
what it is. You explore a mansion, you get
But you're a
resources.
detective.
It takes place, I believe, in the 19th century, the very first Alone in the Dark.
And you shoot zombies.
Yeah, you don't really shoot in the original. You
Oh.
you can defend yourself in some ways,
You
but
run from
pretty much
zombies.
like true survival horror. Of course, the game was rebooted. The franchise over the years became more of a pew pew shooter. Always stuck to the survival horror roots. Of course, you know it's really been
You want to hear my
rebooted.
prediction or not?
Go ahead, Samurai.
Please-
Let's hear this
please
prediction. I won't
enlighten
interrupt
us.
you any further.
So now that we're oriented on Alone in the Dark, we know that there is a remake coming. Yes, we know there's a remake of this acclaimed and celebrated and beloved game.
Yes.
Alone in the Dark is going to come out, poised to be a big deal, going to be a top seller. People are nostalgic. People like these kind of games. Samurai's post-market prediction today is that this game is going to be so popular, it is going to demand a DLC. Now, what do people like even more than survival horror games of 1992?
Money.
Money.
Yeah, good guess,
Battle
not quite.
Royale shooters.
No, okay,
Very
close,
popular.
close.
Oh, yeah.
Keep going,
Yeah.
keep going.
You're
You're getting there.
Loot,
Warm.
people love
warm,
loot
warm,
crates.
warm,
Loot
hot,
crates
I
are
love
very
loot
popular.
crates.
hot. We're circling
Yeah,
around it. We're circling around it. The
100%.
answer is dogs.
Okay.
People do like dogs.
People like dogs.
People like dogs. I'm
Yeah.
hearing people like dogs. That's what what I'm told.
If this is your prediction that people like dogs, I don't think you're wrong.
I
Stay
think
with
this
me,
is a good
Sydney.
one.
Keep up. God.
Okay.
Okay. So here's what's going on. We have Alone in the Dark. We have dogs. These are two things people like. The game is going to be so popular, people are going to be clamoring for more content, foaming at the mouth, going to the door of the company and going, please, please give us more game. And so they're going to have to give them two things they like. Dogs, Alone in the Dark. The DLC will be called Alone in the Bark, and it will feature a dog detective. A dog who is a detective who solves crimes in the dark, which will be challenging because dogs don't see good in the dark.
Is that true?
I think dogs see
I think
great in the
dogs see-
dark.
Well,
actually,
I know cats
I
see
know,
well.
I know a lot about dogs.
Well,
There's a dog course at Samurai University, and I got a D in it, and I got a degree, so I know a lot about
I
it.
feel like D is the best grade you can get in the dog course, though.
That's true.
D for dog.
D for dog.
D for dog.
D for dog.
Okay, wait. Okay, I actually, not that I don't like your predictions. I always do. I love them.
I know. Yeah.
I
so does everyone else.
Of course. I just feel like this one actually, I quite enjoy this one. You get a DLC where you get to play a dog who is the detective of the main game. I love it.
Dog loadable content.
Dog detective. Say it with me.
This isn't Detective Pikachu, okay? We're talking
This is better than Detective.
Alone in the Dark, right? So this is like a gritty, kind of realistic game where, you know, you have all sorts of horrors that you're facing. It's scary, right? It's not, you can't go around as a talking Pikachu and just, you know, start collecting clues and pretending you're Professor Layton meets Ace Attorney. Okay, this is Alone in the Dark. So are you going to be a dog that can talk, that can think like a human, or you're just like a dog? Like, what is?
You're just a dog.
I think you're just a dog.
You're just a dog.
And you can't.
How would that work?
You can't hold a gun.
No, dogs don't have thumbs.
I love the idea of a DLC that's like an honor mode type run. And as soon as the detective dies, you take over as the dog.
You become the dog.
You become the dog that he uses. And then it's like, yeah, you're fucked. You have to be the dog for the rest of the game.
Printing money. This game is printing money.
Marcus, you gotta see.
You gotta wrap your head around
You
it.
gotta see.
Okay, so this isn't DLC where it's an extra kind of mission and a situation that only a dog could solve.
It might be, but I cannot go that deep into my prediction, or else the government will come and find me.
Instead, you're going to take the entire game and make it playable in dog form with all of the challenges for a human, designed
But
for a
it's dog
human.
mode.
but
You're in
a
dog mode.
It's dog mode.
All right, you're forgetting that Alone in the Dark did have a DLC spinoff that was for floppy disk only. Of course you're forgetting. This guy's never seen a floppy disk in his goddamn life.
Floppy disk, like floppy ears of a dog.
Well, not what I was gonna say, but there was a floppy disk DLC spinoff called Jack in the Dark, and I think that was the name. and you played as Grace Saunders, who's a character from Alone in the Dark. She's not a dog, she's a child. But you play as her on Halloween night, and you go to an abandoned toy store, a closed toy store, and you break in, and then the toys come alive. And that's like the mission, is that you're like, you know, fighting off these toys to escape the toy store.
Okay.
That, to me, is 6 degrees away from Alone in the Dark.
A child is almost a dog.
A child is basically a dog.
That's halfway to a
They
dog.
both can't talk. They can barely walk at some stages.
Yep.
They're pretty, I would say IQ is close.
Love toys.
They love toys.
Listen, I've played Jack in the Dark pretty much every night since I was 14. Okay, so let me just say that first and foremost. I don't see the viability of a dog version of Alone in the Dark. I just don't. I think this is a
It's
terrible
for
prediction.
people.
if I'm being
Sorry,
honest.
it's for people who love dogs.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
is what you're
it's
missing
for
out on.
must love dogs.
On the
Got it.
Simpsons meter, I would put this at the tippy top. I would put this at a Mr. Burns. Excellent.
On the Simpsons prediction meter, I put this as at a big, strong Maggie sucking noise.
That's
That was
good.
fun.
That's
Spot.
really
Spot.
good.
Into it.
That's really
excellent.
good.
Well done. Well done.
All right, so you said it sucked. I said it was excellent. I think that's all the time we have for Postmarket today. Thank you so much, Samurai. I'm Sydney.
I'm Marcus.
I'm Samurai.
Thank you, Samurai. This has been Next Level Play, your esports, gaming, all things podcast.
Yeah, your source for gaming, esports, news, past, present, future. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Samurai.